again. We're never too sure how to start these, are we?
Who's talking?
We're never
Who's doing
too
the
sure.
intro?
We're never too sure. One of us goes, just goes. It's like roundabouts. You got your stoppers and
Yeah,
goers,
that's
haven't
it,
you? So
yeah.
it works on stoppers and goers. Talking point number one.
This is the new thing.
The new format.
The new format.
Reframe everything.
Yeah.
You gotta just
Reframe your
be
brain.
prepared for anything to happen. Okay, just don't
Anything
get
could
too
happen in the
comfortable.
next half hour.
Don't get too comfortable. Right.
Okay.
Talking point one. The question.
The question.
For discussion this time.
Yeah.
Are we peak vag?
Is there vag literally everywhere
Is
now?
there too much vag?
Is there too much vag?
Are we just vag?
We're struggling through the vag. This is not a comment on the popularity of men in sheds,
Certainly not.
but actually, it's a deeper question. I got
Deeper into the vag.
deeper into the
It's
vag.
a slippery one, this one, isn't it? Crikey. Okay, no, right.
Serious.
Volkswagen Audi group.
No.
Not.
No. Apparently it's just Volkswagen AG.
What?
Yeah.
What?
So like, you know how we have
I am already baffled by the vag.
so AG's like PLC or LTD, I think.
What?
Yeah.
What?
So it's just Volkswagen AG.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no.
No.
I much prefer Volkswagen Audi Group.
I don't prefer either.
No.
I'd rather they just both buggered off.
You're not keen on badge, either way.
There's too much. It's become ridiculous.
It has become
We
ridiculous.
can't
Sorry,
be
let's
the
get serious.
only
Come on.
People
Yeah.
who have just noticed that Volkswagen are taking over the car world. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay, just some facts about
Facts.
Volkswagen AG.
G.
They own Audi, Bentley, Bugatti, Lamborghini, Porsche, Seat, Skoda, and of course Volkswagen.
Oh yeah.
They also build MANs and Scanias, and of course there is Volkswagen commercial vehicles.
Did you say Ducati in there? Because they own Ducati as well, I think.
Oh bloody hell! You can't even get Ducati.
That's 12.
Right.
At least 12. You'll
Okay.
count because I wasn't. But yeah, I was doing the finger
There's-
thing.
The whole
I was fingering the-
organisation is enough vag jokes now, please. The company is divided between automotive and finance. It has 340 subsidiaries.
That's a bit much.
And you
innit?
know what? Like, they're divided between automotive and finance. Like,
Yeah,
finance.
it's like, are you a car company or are you a finance
Oh,
company?
this evil company.
Ugh.
And they are basically, Porsche owns 52%.
Yeah.
The state.
Wow.
Germany.
Germany.
That's Germany.
That's Germany. The
Um,
Deutschland.
That's Deutschland. They own.
We
like-
apologize. Can we just apologise to the French and the Germans so far because
Yeah.
we've murdered their language.
Well,
but it's all in good jest.
fair vag.
Yeah,
that's
fair
the
vag.
problem. The state owns like 12% or 20%, and then Qatar Investment Authority.
Randomly,
They own like.
got to have a bit of
another
Middle
chunk.
Eastern investment
So
at some
all
point.
like, it's like this hodgepodge of the worst of the world right now. I'm sorry, not
Yeah.
that I'm not saying Germans are the worst of the world,
But that
you know,
company, yeah, is.
but in terms of kind of mega monopolies.
like, how are you going to get any sort of sense out of 340 subsidiaries in sort of like, you know, no wonder like Dieselgate's been all a bit. This is a bit odd. And like how to get to the bottom of it, and I didn't know this, and he knew that. No, I didn't know that. They knew that. No, none of us knew that. Let's pay some money out, but let's get some back. And yeah, proper
Money going round the
Yeah.
world.
sort of like, oh, Dieselgate, we're gonna have to fine you, but here's a massive subsidy to put
Yeah.
some electric cars in from the state
Yeah.
who owns half.
How
of
does the state
Yeah.
find it's a company it owns?
Yeah, exactly.
How does that work? And for those that don't know, it was a really interesting thing because basically Porsche played Sneaky Buggers.
Yeah.
And do you know about this?
Oh, this rings a bell.
Yeah.
I remember reading about it and kind of just my brain's dribbling out of my ear like, God, this is boring.
They
But-
sneakily,
but it
out
was
of the
actually
blue,
quite
bought
clever.
a majority share
Yeah.
of Volkswagen. Porsche bought Volkswagen out It
From
was really
under
clever.
its
under
nose.
under its own nose.
I stopped myself then, you see.
Is this some kind of vag under
No,
nose type thing?
no.
Right.
From under its own nose. So, yeah. So they sneakily did that.
They did, and as we have seen over the past, like, I remember when Skoda was Skoda and Seat was Seat.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I remember when it first happened, they started to kind of merge, and then you're like, ooh, a Leon is really an Audi A4.
Yeah.
And a Skoda Octavia is really an Audi A3.
Yeah.
And it was all this kind of like, oh, you can see it, can't you? You can see it in the different cars.
No word of a lie. I know I'm not the biggest fan of German marques of cars, but no word of a lie. I saw a while ago now, it was a Seat estate, and I'm not sure what they call the estate. And it was quite obviously the last model Audi. I mean, it was like they'd barely changed any, even the apertures for the rear lights, you know, the actual body was not changed. It was just like, it was,
Yeah.
I genuinely thought it was an Audi until I drove past it and saw the front, and I was like, oh, okay, it's not an Audi. It's quite blatant sometimes. It's quite...
Well, we've had enough of them, haven't we? We've had enough of them. We don't like the whole Audi VW thing. And we've got, like, I think we have got something against the owners in a way.
Yeah.
A bit, because there's something about that culture that doesn't sit right with us.
Yeah.
I mean, the diesel culture, for a start, they have just turned ordinary, like, they've just somehow managed to inject diesels into everybody's
Just
lives now.
pummeled diesels into the world, haven't they? It's just like you see, obviously second or third vehicles, don't you, that do 3,000 miles a year?
Yeah.
But they're still diesels,
Yeah.
and it's just like, why are you doing this? It's just like,
Andrew was pointing out earlier to me today, like, you don't see a convertible Audi that isn't a diesel.
no.
And like as if you want to hear that when you put your roof down on a Sunday morning.
Lovely.
They are quite often a big part of modified diesel culture.
Yeah.
They're all bloody silver. Like, why are they all
Oh
silver?
my god, yeah, it's like a completely monochrome spectre. Like, if you see any of the VAG cars that are anything other than a white, silver, grey, I mean, again, literally, quite recently, not literally, but very recently, there was an Audi advert, billboard advert, grey sky, moody grey tarmac, with a grey Audi estate. I mean, like, when you are advertised, when you're taking the opportunity of, like, here's our amazing car in dark grey, how soul-destroyingly boring is that? When, like, that's the best you can come up with.
Yeah.
Let's put a grey car in this grey environment and go, hey, buy an Audi. It's just, no. Oh.
It's interesting because, like, there's a kind of theory to pop culture and what's popular, you know, like music and stuff like that. It's like, why is it when you look through the past, the most popular things aren't that amazing?
Yeah.
And it's something to do with, like, it's the companies that tap into mediocrity
Yeah.
and just somehow manage to be the most mediocre that do well.
Yeah.
It's a really weird phenomenon. And what Volkswagen are doing, or sorry, with Volkswagen Automotive Group, no, sorry, Volkswagen AG, what they are doing is they're just turning everything mediocre.
Yeah.
Because I would argue Lamborghinis have become mediocre under this brand.
Yeah.
Because I saw a Diablo the other day on the M6.
Yeah.
And it was huge and it was leery and it was just so impressive.
Whereas,
You see a new Lamborghini now.
I've seen, and this is it, I think it's a, I want to say it's a Gallardo, I don't think it's a, or is it a Huracan? I don't know. It was either Gallardo or a Huracan. I think it's a Gallardo. Or was it a Murcielago? I don't know. It was one of the newer
Well,
ones.
the fact you don't know screams volumes.
But it was grey.
Oh.
Straight out of the
Grey
Audi
Lamborghini.
colour chart book. And I'm not exaggerating to say the 50cc scooter that followed it made more noise. And, like, you're driving a Lamborghini. It should be like, you know, I should have bleeding eardrums.
Should be blowing scooters over.
Yes,
You shouldn't
exactly.
You wouldn't want to be anywhere near behind a Lamborghini in a scooter.
You know.
It'd just be like fire would just engulf you
Yeah.
like a bloody South African anti-hijack system.
Exactly. It's like if you're going to daily drive a Lamborghini, you should be wearing ear defenders and kind of, that's it, some fireproof underwear. And this was
If
just
you
like-
wear them, that people.
If you wear,
there
that's
was a
true.
time where if
Yeah.
you bought a Lamborghini and you walked
Open
in, first thing they
shirt,
would
yeah.
do it, they'd be like, "Are you wearing underwear?" And are you wearing the underwear? And they wouldn't because they're Italian.
No.
Weren't they? Are you wearing the underwear?
It's like,
And
I'm
then-
not even wearing trousers. And that's French, sorry.
Exactly. Well, dirty French.
Dirty French.
But that's the kind of thing you had to be to buy
Yeah.
a Lamborghini. You couldn't be wearing underwear.
And now they're like
Now,
daily driving them in Audi
they wouldn't
diesel grey, and it's just like,
wearing probably incontinent pants.
yeah.
Probably.
Oh, it's just, and also, I mean, you got a point. Like Seat seems to have been either lobotomized or completely just like had their testicles removed for this. masculine sort of like bullish Spanish brand.
At first, they kind of like, there was like, oh, come along, Sia. Come
Yeah.
along, got you some new toys, Sia.
Yeah.
What's it? The Cupra R?
Yeah.
Oh, aren't you excited?
Yeah.
Look at that with your 1.8 turbo
Yeah.
and your Leon.
Yeah.
Oh, how exciting is this? And they did that, and it was like that. And then they were suddenly like, blade up the nose,
Yeah.
frontal lobe, cut that off.
And then it's like, you see Ibizas with the FR. I don't even know what the FR badge stands for now, because it's like, I've seen them, you couldn't get a more base spec looking vehicle with an FR badge on. It's like, I thought it was like the Cupras and Cupra FR, just like, it's just, they're all just so, and like, I don't want to say that, I'm going to say the soul word, but out of all of the group, you would think a Spanish, sort of that more Mediterranean feel, would there be more flair and more soul to them? They're absolutely soulless. They are just so drab. I just don't get it.
They are drab, and I would argue, because the thing is, what they're really good at is doing these kind of really wacky bonkers cars.
Yeah.
So like the RS6 and stuff like that,
Yeah.
the RS4, they are exciting cars.
The TT400, is it, with 400 horsepower and all that?
All that kind of thing, and some of the stuff they do with Bentley, some of the stuff that they definitely do with Bugatti is really, really, really extreme, and
Yeah.
Porsche as well.
Yeah.
They're really good at doing that to make you want the brand, but then what people actually drive, what actually manifests itself as the normal consumer vehicles, are, like you say, completely drab. And it's very interesting in the case of Porsche. It's like, it's all very well to say, oh, there's RS, GT, whatever this, and they managed to shave some glass off the rear view mirror, and now it's a proper track car, and all this kind of weird stuff. But the fact is that they did give us the Cayman.
Yeah.
And they did give us the Cayenne as well. And they kind of what they've done is they've taken Porsche, which was basically a 911.
Yeah.
And a few occasional mistakes, effectively, that they made.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, how can we turn a 911 into something that's more consumer and more available to everybody and drivable by everybody and everything like that. And I think that's a little bit sad, and it just seems to be the standard thing with them, is they kind of, in a way, they kind of like, because there are people out there, these mad, crazy people who are like, well, I really want like an RS4,
But when you look at it,
when I look at it on paper, and you've got like 30 mpg, and I'm looking in the 75 range out of a sporty saloon, and what's available on his company car package.
That's it.
And then you literally get like an Audi A4 S-Line diesel sport with like 19-inch rims, body kit, and then like the diesel is tweaked as well, which makes it even weirder. So it's kind of like you actually gave people what they want. It's like this thing like Steve Jobs and people like that, these real sort of pioneers of business. Like, what's good about them is they kind of listen to what you want and then just conclude that you are an utter idiot, you're an imbecile, because you want something,
or
which
wade
is,
through that and find the core that's going to get you.
You don't want that. You want something exciting. You want something that's going to change you as a person, make you more exciting. It's going to be a bit of a risk, going to be, a bit of a move in a new direction. And Audi don't do that.
Which is not an A4.
Volkswagen do the opposite, don't they? They kind of like, what do you want? What is your boring aspirations? What's your compromise? What is your holding back? What is not going to change you? What is only going to reinforce your previous beliefs about everything? And they say, okay, right, well, do you want to find out? No problem at all. Crikey,
get your keen PCP deal on that.
These are people that gave us the Audi TT, which is a car that's pretty much universally hated by car fans, as far as I'm aware. You never hear a good word about the Audi TT. No. But they gave lots of young women who wanted a car that made them look exciting and interesting, and they're anything but most of the time. And gave them
a Markful Golf underneath.
Markful Golf, which is
probably the worst Golf ever.
Which has probably defined them in their personality as they are a Markful Golf in a dress. You know what I mean? Like in some cases. So it's a sad state of affairs.
And also, I'm bringing a point that kind of we could argue about this at any point, or I could mention this at any point, but I think it's a fair point to make right now, because you were saying, listing all these companies that are owned by Volkswagen AG, and like you say, I remember when Skoda was Skoda, Seat was Seat, all that sort of stuff. And what I don't understand is, right, how come, and I saw this recently, how come Lexuses get called rebadged Toyotas, but no one calls an Audi a rebadged Skoda? Like, why is that? Why is that a thing? No one ever said, or even a VW, because to be fair, it's all in a, I mean, you could say maybe it starts with the Volkswagen platform and then goes down and up depending on whatever, it might start from the bottom, I don't know. But either way, I don't think it starts with Audi and trickles down.
No, I doubt it does.
So why is Audi never defined by one of its sister companies, especially when, as we've said, some of the cars are so incredibly similar that you would struggle at a distance to sort of tell them apart.
Well, it's better nails.
Yeah,
it's better nails. That's what it is.
I mean,
like
I'd
they
love
do
to
so
see
much wrong.
Yeah,
that you can't. Like,
True.
whereas with Toyota and Lexus, you've just always got this one thing, haven't you? Which is like, oh well, Lexus is Toyota, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
But with VAG, you can't do that because it's
too big.
This VAG is spread so wide for all to see.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's great because, like, Toyota is not what's the word, completely innocent. Like, I think one of the Lexus NX is shared with the RAV4 and all that sort of stuff. But I'd love to see the rebadged Toyota that's, this Toyota, the Lexus LS 500 or 600 or whatever, 5-litre V8. I'd love to see the Toyota that's got this 5-litre V8. So anyway, bit of a digression. But I think it's interesting when, you've got all these companies and somehow they all manage to be their own entities, and yet other companies get lumped in together with anyone who has a spurious sort of link.
I feel
to
we're
it.
up against a cult because the thing is, like, they've become so widespread and they've saturated so much of the market now. It's like we were walking to and from a co-op to get a sandwich, and we see an Audi A4 sport wagon of some, or was an A3. I can't tell the difference between the States and A3s anymore.
I mean, don't get me started on that. Sorry, I'm just
and
to
it
use
was
this bullshit of sport wagon. I mean, what? It's a hatchback. It's a hatchback. It's not a sport wagon. It's a hatchback. Just call it a hatchback. You can't rebrand hatchbacks as sport wagons because a sport wagon just sounds like an estate. But then there's an estate as well. I don't understand. It just doesn't make any sense.
What's the saloon with a hatch?
I don't even.
The A5.
Oh God.
What's that called when you do that?
Oh, I don't know.
What's that
Do
called?
they call that a coupe now?
I don't know what they're
I think
calling
the A5's a coupe,
I don't know what they're
technically,
calling
isn't it?
that. But it's that concept of you buy a coupe and it's a hatchback.
Yeah.
It's that, well, I want a coupe.
Yeah, I mean, they called the
want to be able
Sirocco.
to get more cycling in it.
Well, they called a Sirocco a coupe. I mean, have you ever heard so much?
Right. A squashed Golf.
Yeah, it's just
Coupe.
like that's pushing it a bit far. But yeah, I mean, they are, like you say, they are everywhere. They are ubiquitous. Oof,
I think it.
fruity.
I would guess Focus ST.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, RS.
Yeah,
5
no,
pot.
yeah, 5
5
pot,
pot RS, that'll be, won't it? Yeah, and I think for me personally, like what I always see when I see one of these cars now, and it doesn't matter, even if it's a Bugatti level, which I know people are going to be like, oh, please don't be so melodramatic about it. But I do see it personally at Bugatti level, right, down to Skoda, is I don't really see any kind of artists working on a single painting type thing. I don't see that. And
I think that's a very good way of putting it.
yeah, and a lot, it is. I agree, it is. Yeah. And it's this
Very
concept
modest of you.
Generally speaking, like when you see a lot of car models, is you tend to think, well, someone wanted to build like the best mid-size hatchback, and someone wanted to build a brilliant executive saloon, so they crafted this one thing, and they use a few bits and a few and a bit
from
here
going
and
on
a bit
for
through there,
Been going on for a long time now. Yeah.
No doubt about it, and they raid the parts bin.
Yeah.
But with Audi, it is like they just used a scale tool on Photoshop.
Yeah. And it's so methodical, isn't it? Like you say, that the parts sharing is so, I mean, well thought out, but to a point where it's just, like when you have the same engine that makes 17 different power outputs depending on the model. I mean, it's literally, when people talk about the venerable, I think it's EA888 or whatever it is, and it's like this 2-litre turbo that has literally been in everything, and the only difference is the tuning in the ECU. It's just like, and then people go, no, I think you'll find they are different, and it's like 90% of the time they're really not, or they might put a slightly. I mean, I imagine it's a bit like the sort of, like in computer, when you're building your own computer, and you can have like A-grade parts and B-grade processors, can't you? And stuff like that. I imagine it's like that. It's probably just like the Skoda just gets the sort of slightly more base piston or, conrod or whatever. But, I mean, really, it's just the same. It's like when they do the all-new Audi A3. It's like all you've done there is just stamp them slightly differently.
Yeah.
It's like, don't tell me that you've built an Audi A3 from the ground
Well,
up
that's
again.
it, that's
because
what
it
I'm
looks
saying.
exactly the same.
Because nothing is conceptualised.
No.
That's the problem. You don't see an A4 or an A3 and you think someone sat down with a blank sheet of paper
Yeah.
and drew a hatchback or drew a saloon or whatever. What you see is you just go, right, they saw a gap in the market
Yeah.
and they kind of reprogram the tool in. It's
Yeah.
almost like it's in a logarithm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They can just pick a badge
Yeah.
and then pick a price range. And the system, the machine just churns out this
Yeah.
thing which is completely inoffensive.
The VAG configurator.
Yeah, exactly. The perfect badge for every man. But the
Or
result are cars that are absolutely, they have no soul. It's really like they get in, drive them. I mean, they don't drive them around test. It's like they just don't even test them. It's like they just roll them out because there is like such a long line of gullible people who
Yeah.
buy off fact sheets rather than actually going and driving a car.
An emotion or an experience or anything.
And
yeah.
and these people are so brainwashed into the concept of spec and special editions and
PCP
different
deals
lines
that'll,
and
you
all
know,
this
that sort of-
that they just buy in like this. It was like they're buying a PC and it's got all these intangibles like RAM and
Yeah.
a hard disk speed and things like that. And
SSD.
yeah, and they're just like, well, I like
sounds
these
like- they
words,
sound good,
and they're
yeah.
like, oh, well, I get a reversing camera based spec on
Yeah.
this, and it's like, so that's why you're going to buy something you drive around in every day
Yeah.
because it comes with a reversing camera, or it's the BMW mentality which has
Yeah.
just been taken to such an extreme, which is why Audi have been able to come along and play BMW and Mercedes
Yeah.
at their own game
Yeah.
because they were prepared to be even more cynical than they were.
Even more mediocre.
Because you know, I mean, when we were whippersnappers,
Aye.
or when I was certainly first driving, there was no Audi culture like there is
No.
now. It wasn't someone's driving 3 inches off my bumper.
It's
it was
an
an
Audi,
Audi,
yeah.
which is like literally happened to me. I've come back from the States. I've driven about 3 times. Yesterday, I was driving. Guess what was tailgating me? Absolutely tailgating me for
Yeah.
no reason whatsoever. Is an Audi A3.
Yeah.
And when I slowly moved back, because I was doing this whole kind of like, I'm
just gonna take my
slow.
time.
And then when he tried to cut round me, I'm like, I'm not done yet. And then he looks at me. He looks
Yeah.
at me
Like you were
why-
the problem.
I'm just trying to do 80 in a 50 zone. Why are you
What's
making...
your problem?
That's how I like to do things. I wanted a mediocre car and Audi sold me one.
Yeah.
Why isn't everything else how I like it?
Why isn't everything else so mediocre?
Why doesn't everything fit my idea
Yeah.
of how I want to be?
Oh.
And it's that kind of thing. And we didn't have that when we were younger.
No.
And I remember the old Audi 80 and stuff like that
Yeah.
was sort of like, people were like, Audi
They're very
80.
understated, weren't they,
it was-
really?
the joke was, it was the German car you got that didn't make you a twat.
Yeah.
That was the idea. It was like, I don't want to be a twat,
Yeah.
so I'm going to
Gonna
buy an Audi.
Yeah.
And somehow, all these people deluding themselves
Yeah.
that they weren't twats, it seems,
Became the biggest twats of all.
became the new twat.
Yeah.
It's weird, and it's just so common now. And it does trickle down, doesn't it? The twat, it's trickle down twatonomics. Like if you have the Skodas sometimes does it.
Yeah.
VWs definitely do it, and
Definitely.
it's like as if they're all in this little
Yeah.
Teutonic club together. And they're all
Yeah.
like, we just do what we want because we're like,
we're all part of the VAG.
and part of this weird little cult that they're in. And
Yeah.
I mean,
I think as well. I mean, we have different opinions on this, I guess, but I think some of the mediocrity does trickle into the aftermarket as well, and the modifying of. I mean, I know Euro as a thing it comes from restrictions, doesn't it? Really, like in France and Germany, where you're not allowed to do everything you want to your car, so it has to be quite, no body modifications and that sort of stuff, isn't it? It's kind of based on that. But I mean, like transporters.
right.
I
okay.
could just give
We're going
you
to talk about transporters
because I could give you a list of the minimum transporter has to have is the dangly Hawaiian bollocks in the windscreen.
Of course, because you're so kind of
Yeah. I mean,
hedonistic
and
like
crazy.
one with the earth. And of course you surf.
Yeah,
By transport you
course.
surf.
I mean,
or
it's-
think about surfing.
It's got it's a silver transporter with like A&J draining up the side, but of course you surf at the weekend.
all the time.
You're as far away from the coast as
Midlands.
possible to get. So that's your absolute minimum. Then
Yeah.
I would say next up would be some sort of VAG wheels
Oh.
that weren't available
Yeah.
on your van. So it has to
Yeah.
be wheels from from somewhere else in the group.
Yeah.
Usually an upstep, obviously, to Audi.
Obviously.
Or unless you can get some magical VW wheels.
Well, I mean, the ultimate is Lambo wheels, isn't it?
Yeah,
Or
that's
Porsche
it, or
wheels.
Porsche
And then you
wheels.
have to run like spacers about
Yeah.
that big.
Just to make them fit. Then I think the next one, is you've got to have T5 in your number plate somewhere. That's your next step.
I'd argue.
Go on.
Matte black bonnet bra.
Good point.
Yeah.
Almost, yeah.
It's like that's across the entire vag.
Yeah.
It's you gotta have this little black
Black bra across the
this
badge.
little sort of black number
Yeah.
yanked up over the front of your vag. It was just the top peeping out because you don't want to get, your flies and your stone chips in it. Seriously. And that's like a thing, isn't it? Like, and it's matte black as well, because you're rally driving.
Yeah.
Because you're really pushing that vag in the woods, aren't you? I mean, seriously. You bloody transporter. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, we've seen some corks, haven't we? I fondly remember one parked not so far away from here at a little lake, man-made lake. Sort of this sort of that metallic green from sort of early mid 2000s.
Yeah.
With like a vinyl in the back window. I mean, it got all what we'd said. I think it also got the chrome side steps with the lights in and all that sort of, And then it got this thing on the back and it said, don't dream the life, live the dream.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it inspired me. I tell you, when I saw that, and I was like, I think that's mean.
Do you think
to be
so?
honest?
What,
In
to
a way,
pick that one out? It's more individual than most
I think
of them,
firstly,
to be fair.
it's absolutely mean to single anything out
True.
in particular. And
True.
it is, and I think
That is more individual
I
than
think-
most of them.
to me, it is a bit like cultish, and I totally agree. And I'm
Yeah.
with you on that, and it is something that stuck out to me in the local area. Absolutely. I've spotted the same badge on
Yeah.
the side of the street and thought the same. But I have to almost commend it within the cult, because in all fairness, at least it's standing out within that.
True.
Because
Yeah, it is metallic green as opposed to white,
it
silver, or
has
black.
airbrush the stuff at the back and
Yeah.
whatever, and it does that. The vast majority of these transporters I see, you don't even notice them. They're like delivery vans.
They are.
If
They're-
you look
yeah.
for them, and I came down today, 93 million. I counted 93 million.
Not a single one less.
transporters-
Yeah.
Transporters between the Moorlands and Newcastle under Lyme.
Yeah.
Just on the A50,
Yeah.
93
Million.
million.
And that is not an
transporters.
exaggeration.
I stopped counting after 95.
It gets hard
Because
after.
I was just like,
I mean, there's a limit.
I get a bit like kind of disorientated
Yeah,
and whatever,
that's
and
it.
I saw an Audi to get angry at. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
typically like if you're sat at home right now,
Just
be
yeah.
careful, because chances are there is a transporter in
Yeah.
the room with you and you don't know it's there. That's how common they've become.
It's like
They
that.
are
It's like
everywhere.
the thing about you never more than 6 foot from a rat, isn't
It's
it?
exactly
They are
the
thinking
same.
of changing that to
Yeah.
you are never more than 6 foot
Yeah.
away from a badge. A badge transporter. You're never 6 feet.
Don't touch it, it's diseased.
Yeah. It's not a nice one. It's not a nice one.
It's a greasy backed one, that one is.
But you're right. I mean, they are. It's almost like, I think you can split them into, if you're just kind of straight down the line, you probably just get a transit van, and then
You wouldn't, would you?
if you're feeling a bit
You
more chavvy,
wouldn't
you
get
get
a
an
transit van.
L200.
That's the thing. Oh, well,
and if you're
yeah.
feeling a bit more aspirational, you buy a transporter. It's like
It's
there's a gamut,
it's
isn't
exactly
there?
that. You don't see people driving around in sprinters.
no.
Even though that's within like
Yeah,
the whole,
true. It's Teutonic, it's
it's
German, it's
Germanic,
Mercedes.
everything like that. You don't see people doing that.
And they are legendary in some respects, the Splinters, aren't
Yeah.
they, really? But yeah, you don't see them with bras and
No.
and tinted windows and...
And I think it started when VW did the Transporter VLR6 as a people carrier.
Yeah.
And it was suddenly like you could get a minibus. Like if you were a corporate, I remember JCB had one. If you were a sort of corporate, you could get this kind of sexy looking.
Yeah.
Because it would come with alloy wheels and it had the little red VR6 badges on and stuff like that. And it had all leather seats and it was like it was like executive people carrier type mentality. and it somehow caught on. And then you got the camper thing,
Yeah.
so you could kind of, it was like you could get into VW camper culture as well.
Yeah.
Like, they do make sense. That's what's frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of like a car to get around, they make so much sense. They've got
Yeah.
loads of room, they're comfy,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
up high,
yeah.
they fit in a normal sized parking
Yeah,
space.
yeah.
Plus, you can put your alloys on. I mean, I know there's one up Clayton, stunning looking.
Yeah.
Like, he's got just the right wheels on it.
Yeah.
It's black, it's lowered a bit. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, that
I
does
mean, it's
look
fair,
nice.
yeah, that's it. You've got to be like,
That
fair
does look
play.
nice.
But
Maybe if I saw him, he probably would be wearing Bermuda shorts and
Yeah,
you
vaping.
know, kind of like vaping with kind of long bleached hair and be like, dude, VW's so dub, it's so dub, and you're like you don't have to live the culture.
Yeah.
You know, you can just have a van,
yeah,
and you just don't get
that's
that.
it. You can
It's
just
weird.
have a van.
It's weird you don't get that with transit vans. Maybe we could associate transit vans. Shall we try to get transit vans associated with like skaters?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
All
'Cause
the
it's
cool kids driving transit.
fishing.
Fishing.
People drive away fishing hats.
I like it. That work round here, I think. Some good
Fishing
fishing
van.
pools round here.
Fishing van.
Fishing van.
Yeah.
That's
Bit of a loner's car, though,
Yeah.
really. Bit of a loner's
Might
car,
look a bit.
maybe.
Yeah.
But it's that silly. It's
Yeah.
that silly.
It is. We've got to
darts.
Yeah.
Because you could play darts in a van, couldn't you?
You
set
could.
that
You could
up
open up the
anywhere.
back and
Yeah,
I
it'd be
like
all right.
that,
That
yeah.
little bar in the back, or
Yeah.
whatever takes your fancy.
We wouldn't get disturbed
Yeah.
by the wind because it'd be
It'd be a rate,
inside.
wouldn't it?
It'd
Like
be a rate.
private transit dart van.
Brilliant.
Well, there we
We
go.
need to get on forward with that.
Yeah, we'll try. Let's start a new trend with
Yeah.
vans, just to prove how silly it is. Are we all vagged out now?
I think so.
Have we had enough for today? For today,
Yeah.
we got it off our chest. Finally.
Can also, what a final point is that I do think we are at the point now where there are no more standard Mark IV Golfs. I genuinely
gone.
I genuinely
There isn't
believe
a
that.
single one in the world
No.
anymore.
They all got Audi
Yeah.
wheels on them.
Don't matter
All-
where you go.
yeah.
There isn't a single one in existence.
Something
Somewhere there's like this huge pile of standard VW
Yeah.
Golf.
that people are
sort of
burning
alloys,
to try and yes.
And they're just like trying to sort of
Yeah,
use
what
the
can we do with these?
magnesium
Yeah.
as an energy source. That's all they can do. Like just being shipped off. to
Someone's
China.
missed a trick there because that's it. They should be now then using Mark IV alloys on like the Mark I or something, and there's circles, kind of just bit of recycling, bit of
I
upcycling.
want to see a Lamborghini on
Yeah.
a set of polo steels.
Yes.
As if they've been swapped round
Yeah.
to each other.
Non-banded steels
Non-banded
either, just
steels,
completely
just driving
standard.
around on a set of those, that'll be all right. Anyway,
Right.
that's a good whinge. Got
Yeah.
another whinge coming up, but
Yeah.
we'll get to that
Let's
soon.
get us top up.
Yeah, it's top up.
Right.
Cheerio!